Absolutely no chance.
So 600 is the magic number, Ayaz. Get 600 on the board, and baseball can't baseball apparently. This England team reminds me of an artist stuck in a 9 to 5 job. They just can't deal with the monotony. They just want to keep things moving, just want to keep things interesting. But you could argue that they could have gone for the draw yesterday, but they refused to do so. But do you think this huge defeat by 336 runs, do you think this will calm them down a bit and force them to rethink, or do you think they just double down?
Well, that's the moot question. Whether it'll calm them down, whether it'll make them refocus, maybe adopt different strategies, we don't know. But what I think is perhaps, to me seems more likely is that this victory by India at Edgbaston could become the inflection point in this series. Because remember, at Headingley, India lost a match they should have won. And when they started the second test match, they were the team under a lot of pressure. The selections of the playing 11, there were questions asked, there were questions raised whether India had become too defensive, why were they resting Bumrah, who are the replacements going to be, why Akash Deep, why not Arshdeep, and so on. But in this match, almost every box has been ticked. All the decisions that were made for changing the players turned out to be a boon. Even Washington Sundar, he played a decent knock in the first innings, picked up a crucial wicket of Stokes. And then, of course, Akash Deep, 10 wickets in the match. I mean, that was a stupendous performance. Not to forget, of course, Shubman Gill's 430 runs in the Test match, which is phenomenal. And then Siraj. So, I mean, what I'm saying is that the pressure now going into Lords will be entirely on England. They have to start doing the thinking how to counter this Indian team, which is looking stronger in every aspect, man for man, batting position for batting position. India seem to be, and bowling position, India seem to be looking a far stronger team, and that will put a lot of pressure on England because baseball's success has largely been the way they've, because it has got recognized because of the way they played in England, chased down scores, played with a lot of, maybe a high risk game, but with a lot of aplomb and a sense of optimism. Now, all that will be put to, a very crucial test at Lords and beyond.
Yeah, so let's do talk about Captain Shubman Gill. Now, as you mentioned, he made more than 400 runs in the match. I think the most by an Indian, surpassing Sunil Gavaskar's tally. Uh, Now, there might be, we don't know, it's too early to make a call on his captaincy and how it will go, but this could be an early prediction is that, over the course of these past two matches, he's managed to pull up his average from the mid 30s to the early 40s. And if the pitches hold true and his form also holds true, he could be in the running to challenge Don Bradman's tally of 974 in a series. That might be a long shot, but it is a possibility. And also, given this series and how the pitches have behaved, and upcoming two series in India where you expect better batting conditions, and now that Ashwin is gone and you don't expect rank turners, he could pull up his average even further, maybe even into the early 50s. So, what did you make of Shubman Gill, the captain and the batter in this match?
Well, on two counts. One is his form is Bradmanesque. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. 430 runs, I think almost 600 runs in two test matches. As you mentioned, the record for, run tally in a series is 974 held by Don Bradman. But there's also, Sunil Gavaskar 774 runs in a series against West Indies in 1971. So that's like a first milestone that he can overhaul. Then there have been a few batsmen who made 800 plus runs in England, Viv Richards amongst them, I think even Clyde Walcott. So, I mean, there are lots of things that can, which Gill will have to do before he reaches Bradman's record. But the form that he's shown, and I think that is somehow also, I want to tie it up with his captaincy, because when you lose a test match, he made 100 in the first test match, but you lost the test match, you come under a lot of pressure. There were questions being raised, even by somebody like me. I thought that there were too many people in his ear, in his ears, because there are senior people in the team, Jadeja, Bumrah, KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant, the vice captain, who seemed more voluble on the field in the first test match, and how he would navigate this, because ultimately the captain has to prove himself as a player, but also establish his authority to get the best out of the rest of the teammates. And I thought this was a very challenging match for Shubman Gill, the Edgbaston match, because they were without Bumrah and also without Kuldeep Yadav, who everybody thought should have been in the playing 11 because of his wicket taking ability. So minus two potential match winners to go out there to absorb that pressure and then go on to make 430 runs, I thought was fantastic. And the way he paced his innings in both the innings, there was a bit of a stutter for India in the first innings. Then he had this long partnership with Jadeja, which pulled India out of the woods and put them into a commanding position. Getting to 587 was obviously the big thing in this match. In many ways, when you look back, that was a very strong influence. But not just that. I think the bowlers played a very strong role in getting that 180 runs lead. That's where I think Bazball and England's tactics went into a bit of a spin, because then in the last innings they were chasing 556 runs. Even there, it seemed that, has Shubman Gill declared a little too late on this flat featherbed, would India be able to force victory? Because they struggled a bit in the first innings, especially when Harry Brook and Jamie Smith were batting. But everything turned out to be quite exactly the way maybe Gill would have thought of it. It was in many ways a dream match for him as a batsman as well as a captain.
Yeah, I still think Kuldeep should have played in that match, but let's do talk about the bowling for a bit. So, Mohammad Siraj once famously said that I'm only believe on Jassi Bhai, but he believed in himself this time, got a 6 for in the first innings. But the hero making performance of this match was Akash Deep, who got a 10 for in the match. So, what did you make of India's bowling and these two in particular?
I think Akash Deep, the skill levels that he showed on this pitch was extraordinary. Remember, he was a replacement for Jasprit Bumrah, who is now widely and perhaps unanimously acknowledged as the best fast bowler in the world. To get into his shoes is a very daunting situation for somebody who's not been commanding a place in the team, in the test team. So the pressure was all there on Akash Deep. Also on Siraj in the first innings. Siraj played his role magnificently, as we know, especially when he got Root and Stokes of successive deliveries and then finished with 6 in the first innings. But Akash Deep, I think he's a very cerebral bowler and also very skillful bowler, because he got the ball to talk, and he played on the mind and preyed on the minds of the batsmen. And the deliveries which got Brook in the first innings and then Joe Root in the second, they were magnificent. I mean, those were, as the jargon goes, peach of a delivery in both situations, and that in many ways turned out to be a situation which changed the course of the match, because Brooke and Jamie Smith in the first innings threatened to take England to 587 and beyond. So that breakthrough gave India the opportunity to demolish the lower order and get a big lead. And the second innings, Joe Root was obviously going to be your biggest stumbling block, and to get him and just kind of completely opened up the match in India's favor.
Yeah. So, lastly, looking forward to Lords. A lot of changes expecting, especially in the bowling department now. Braden Cast was bowling with an injury, so you'd expect Jofra Archer to come in, maybe even Gus Atkinson. And for India, Bumrah comes in. So, do you think the ground staff will be tempted to leave a bit of green on the top? And if they do they have enough time to? Because the next match starts in a couple of days.
I don't know whether it's a question of time or whether it's a question of now England's worry that India actually have the better bowling attack even amongst the fast bowlers. I mean, Bumrah back, Akash Deep in this kind of a form, the control, the accuracy, the skill set that he has got. Imagine him alongside Bumrah and Siraj. It's a daunting situation, daunting challenge for England. Much as Jofra Archer's presence could tempt them to keep a tinge of green, because Jofra will be the quickest bowler on view, quite clearly. But he's a bit undercooked. He's not played too much of competitive cricket coming into this match. So England are at, I think that in a bit of a problem situation as they find themselves. Not so much in the batting. I think the batting looks okay and looks good, in fact. But it's the bowling which is going to be a bother for England. In fact, I think in the first two test matches, if you ask me, the best English bowler to me has been Ben Stokes, and he doesn't bowl a full quota of a regular bowler. So he's got the skill set to make the most of conditions at Lords or in England, but he's not bowling regularly. So I think, as I mentioned at the start, the pressure all on England, and this could be a time for India to really press home the advantage.
Yeah. So, as I said earlier, the Test match at Lord comes up on Thursday, and we'll come back to you after that. So, that's it for this episode of Sports Room. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Anirudh. We'll catch up.